around the globe as leaders run so desperate nobody can tell us where they came from or what they are.
How do you describe the world of Pacific Rim? You start with monsters, robots.
We realized we got a very, very big problem on our hands, and basically humanity en masse drops all of its petty little differences and comes together and creates this thing called the Jaeger program.
Initiating launch operations. Pilots, ready to connect.
Let's go fishing.
Ready to activate the Jaeger in 3, 2, 1.
Jaeger is the German word for hunter, and we create these huge robots that are piloted by men to go and kick the monster's ass.
Sounds preposterous, but actually
It's
works
preposterous,
rather well.
but that doesn't mean it's not entertaining. You know, Jurassic Park is preposterous.
Guillermo del Toro, absolutely fantastic to meet you. How are you?
Same here. Very good.
Excellent. Let's talk about Pacific Rim, because otherwise it would be an odd interview, because that is what we're here.
We would stay silent.
Yes. Let me start by talking to you about how this is so much of a passion project for you. I mean, this is a labour of love because of your love of kaiju movies.
And monsters, yes. Robots and monsters.
Robots and monsters. And I love you for making this movie. Tell me about when you first heard that you were going to be able to make it, when it was greenlit and you were going to be able to make this movie that I imagine you've always kind of wanted to make.
Well, we started working about 9 or 10 months before we got greenlit. We started creating all the robots, creating all the kaiju, preparing a big presentation to show to Warner Brothers from Legendary, and writing the screenplay. And I co-wrote with Travis Beacham. And by the time we were done with all this sort of pre-concept I was already in love with the movie. I came on board after Mountains of Madness collapsed. I climbed on board the movie, and we presented it to Warner's. We showed videos, we showed a concept art that if you get the art of book, you'll see what we did. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous presentation. And then they said, yes, you would do it. And it was like getting a Christmas present, and, because this movie is a Christmas present from me at 48 to myself at age 11.
This is the kind of thing that every kid dreams of doing when they grow up.
Because you know the kind of the material inside out in terms of where this came from, does that present a whole new host of challenges because you're so involved in it?
Well, no, it's the opposite. I think that when you are so familiar with something and you want to be the bridge between a classical subgenre like this, mecha robots, and kaiju giant monsters, to a new generation, the more you know the genre, the more you appreciate the movie. If you have only 1 or 2 reference points, you can see it, oh, this or that, but the more you know it, the more deep how playful the movie is becomes, and it's easier to translate it to a new generation of kids or families or people that are interested in these bizarre things.
Today, at the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we have chosen to believe in each other.
Stacker Pentecost, he is so good in this film. It's a great character.
Yeah.
What made Idris Elba just the perfect choice to play that role?
Well, first of all, Idris is like more than human in a way that sort of Russian sculptures and Rodin sculptures are. He's bigger, his eyes are fantastic, he has this soulful humanity, but he's also able to deliver the line, "We are canceling the apocalypse," which I can't deliver. He said, "What? I'm canceling the apocalypse." What? It's terrible. So he can do a beautiful job and has the authority and the power, and he's just an amazing, incredibly powerful actor.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
Idris Elba, fantastic to have you here, man.
Nice to meet you, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Good.
Looking very good, looking lovely, as
Thanks,
always.
man. I'm feeling a little head coldy thing, lots of hay fever going around.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I will say this, I can't imagine your character in the film ever saying that. Stacker, Pentecost. It seems unlikely it'd ever go, I've got a bit of a head cold.
I know, I mean, you've just seen the film.
Yep.
Stacker's this tough man, he's bleeding from his nose, he's fighting robots, and you come in here and I'm like, oh, God.
He's great, though. I mean, what a name. I mean, like, literally, when you read the name and see the name and hear the name, Stacker Pentecost, it's not a name that messes about. And for sure, he's not a guy who messes about at all, is he?
Yeah, he did. I think I smiled about 3 times in the film, and only a half smile at that. Now, when I read the script, the actual script, the character was called Sensei. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a decent name, but what does it mean? And I think it was more of a placeholder because they wanted to find something that was like dum dum dum, and they found one, Stacker Pentecost.
That's good. When he walks into a room, when people watch it now, they're going to hear dun 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 in their head. And when you read the script, I mean, what lines he has. I'm going to repeat one of my favourites in the movie. Which is 1.
Don't you ever touch me again.
2.
Don't you ever touch me again.
And he says it with such menace. And it's the kind of line you want to take and use yourself.
Right.
But I think I'd never get away with it. You kind of have to be called Stacker to pull that off.
Can I tell you the truth about that line, right?
Go on.
This is the truth about it. It's so, you know, he's pulled me away, and Guillermo had written something before. 1, don't touch me. 2, you don't know who I am, blah, blah, blah. But we found that it wasn't really delivering, so he said, just throw it away. So I've gone, right, yeah, I'm going to throw it away, yeah. I'm going to think of a great 2. I don't know what the great 2 is going to be. Yeah, action. 1, don't touch me. 2, don't touch me. And that's what happened. And Guillermo goes, I love it, it's a great line. I was like, yeah, I just couldn't think of anything else to say.
That's brilliant, because it works so well, and you would never guess that when you watch that, but it's like, don't ever touch him. You don't touch him so much, he says it twice, and it was just a happy accident.
Marshall, can we just talk about this for 1 second? You rescued her. You raised her. You're not protecting her now. You are holding her back.
1, don't you ever touch me again. 2, don't you ever touch me again. Now, you have no idea who the hell I am or where I've come from, and I'm not about to tell you my whole life story.
Let's talk about what made you want to jump on board with Pacific Rim, because, I mean, I'm guessing there are a combination of 2 reasons. 1, it's giant aliens fighting robots, and fact, that's just great in any language. And 2, obviously working with Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, no, firstly, 1, Guillermo del Toro, to be honest, because he was, you know, he's a legend. He's a legendary filmmaker, Pan's Labyrinth, you know, all those boys. They're such well-made films. And then you could tell that this director's got an imagination, you know, and as an actor, that's like a dream, you know, oh man, I'm working with someone like that. I read the script and I thought the script was really, you know, the script is obviously dense. All that stuff, you know, fighting robots and that was all really dense reading. But then there was this human story, Stacker especially, that I just really gravitated to. I really felt like I could actually do something with that. You know, he's not like my other characters where they're emotionally based or, you know, they're drug dealers or whatever. You know? This guy was just like, last man standing. He says it in the film. All I need to be to you and everybody on this dome is a fixed point. The last man standing. I do not need your sympathy or your admiration. All I need is your compliance and your fighting skills. And if I can't get that, then you can go back to the wall that I found you crawling on. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Good.
We always thought alien life would come from the stars, but it came from deep beneath the sea, a portal between dimensions in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, if you're going to do a monster movie, then it should be made by someone who understands monsters. And since Guillermo is admittedly part monster, you know, he's the perfect man.
It's funny, you know, you talk about integrity. You normally think of, you know, thespians on the stage in London, the struggling artist, you know, doing what they love. But, you know, you can have integrity in anything you do as long as you love it. And this is what Guillermo lives for.
encyclopedic knowledge of every
movie,
genre, specifically to do with the monsters and the kaiju genre.
Yeah.
Whether you're familiar with it or not, with anime, with manga, with the kaiju, genre, the film brings something sort of fresh to that whole new thing. For those who are aware of the genre, you'll notice that there's great influences.
What the hell is going on?
He goes to sleep at night dreaming of giant monsters fighting giant robots. I mean, this is what he's got so much passion and heart for, and I think it really shows in the movie.
It's great to have a movie of this size done by a director who everyone knows is a master and a great artist, as opposed to a director who's rubbish.
My kind of scientist.
As a summer blockbuster, this is an original idea on a huge budget and a huge scale. And that's rare today, because so many movies, blockbusters, where a studio will spend this much money, come with a built-in fan base, you know, from a comic book, superhero movies. Was that at all daunting to be sort of trying to introduce something that is just a new script, a new idea for people?
It's better for me. I actually like it very much. I've adapted things with Hellboy. I adapted things in the past, but to do something where you can create and you can just make it fit and make it riff, it was great. I mean, I came up with the idea of the two pilots on the top of the head of the robot connecting and having to trust each other and all that. And it's such a clean metaphor, and then you can build everything around it. The stories of all the pilots are about connecting and trusting, and it's more of a piece than if you're adapting something based on something else. The fans already have expectations. I find it more difficult.
We're gonna have the hit. Bronco is gonna have to wire us going that way, and Herc is gonna hit the earmuff. 3, 2, 1, attack!
I guess as you're actually in production on the movie, and you're seeing it all come together, and you're seeing once the graphics start being put in place, and you're watching your rushes, is this everything? And probably even more than you'd expected when you set out on this journey.
Yes, I absolutely think this movie is one of the most satisfying movies I've done creatively. I think that Pan's Labyrinth is sort of the conclusion of a period in which I explored small, strange movies. This is a conclusion of a period in which I tried another things like Hellboy 1, Hellboy 2, sort of bigger family or big audience-oriented movies. And I think that between the two sort of experiences, I'm able to go into new territory and have fun.
Because you've done action before. I mean, Hellboy obviously contains...
Blade, Hellboy 1, Hellboy 2, yeah.
But nothing on this scale, ever. No. And I'm a huge action fan. Strangely, I get quite emotional about action. Like, it makes me cry.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, I love action like that.
A beautiful action sequence.
A little tear comes out in the eye.
I was grateful that there were 3D glasses for this film, because I could hide the tears, because it was just...
Tears of joy.
It was beautiful. Yeah. How did you feel when you first saw a completed action sequence and just sort of went...
I never see it like that. I always see it like that here, first. And then I draw it. And that's the only time I am sort of able to see it all at once. Then it's all piece by piece. I direct the animated portions of this movie like I direct live action. So I'm always talking to the animator, move the monster a little more like this, camera should be a little lower, let's move the camera a little bit back. So I'm always, I don't see it come to, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. That's what it is for me.
So you never get that feeling that I have where I see it for the first time?
No.
I mean, obviously, it's your movie, but that's a shame, because...
I get the other perks.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Elbow rocket!
Elbow rocket engaged.
Now!
The spectacle of this movie is on a scale, no pun intended, that you haven't seen before. Because obviously a lot of that is done in post, after you've been filming. What was your reaction when you first saw the finished film and saw the bits that obviously were done later.
Do you know what? And this is a little bit, you know, sort of big-headed to say, but it's the same sort of feeling I got when I saw Star Wars and I saw the Death Star. It was like, oh my God, you're kidding me? Like, who thought that up? You know, it was that sort of exciting, butterflied feelings, and then, oh, that's me. That's me. Hey, look, that's me there. Because it was so big. Like, same when I watched Blade Runner. You know, you watch Harrison Ford. You know, like one of the characters in a big film like that. That's the sort of feeling I got. But I also was so impressed at the movie making. You know, CGIs are incredible, getting better and better every day. But that was just something else. It's on another level. It's painted so deeply. The detailing is so amazing.
I love the idea of you nudging someone and going, that's me. And how much do you know about movie making? Because maybe I actually piloted a giant robot that existed. Do you know? Do you know a lot about it? You don't. I'm piloting that robot and fighting a monster.
Yeah, that was me at the premiere. It was too bad. It was my agent next to me.
Action!
There is emotion in this film as well, and I don't just mean the kind of emotion that I love, because I've said before, I cry at beautiful action sequences, which this film is full of. Like, I sat in the cinema this morning and I had tears coming down my face because it's so beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
But there's also, and I don't want to give too much away, there's a scene where you appear at the end of the scene coming out of the top of one of the Jaeger.
Yeah.
And that scene, that whole scene with the young girl is so emotional. And there's real emotion in this.
Real emotion. I think that whole segment, and you know, when you see the film, you'll understand that the connection between Mako, played by Rinko Kikuchi, and myself is based on that moment in the film. You know, that whole connection. And once you see it, you go, and that's why he's so strict with her, you know. And it is one of the most, you know, sort of rich emotional storylines within the film.
Because I think that's the thing, that you might not realise people will have watched the trailer because it's just one of those amazing trailers and you've seen the action, but there's a lot more going on here.
Yeah. I think people might get blindsided by the poster when there's robots in it. But there's no humans. But there is actually humans, and we are, you know, what I found interesting as well is that they're all kind of fresh-faced actors. So you kind of didn't go watching, oh, that's someone very famous that I know, and now I've got to believe it's them. Everyone's sort of like, you know, fresh-faced in that sense. So you kind of jumped into the world a little bit, and also because the world is actually someone from Australia, you know, English team, American, you know, Japanese. It felt a little bit more international.
Remember, it's about compatibility. It's a dialogue, not a fight. But I'm not gonna dial down my moves.
Okay. Then neither will I.
One zero.
1-1. Better watch it.
As a kid myself, I watched a lot of the Toho Studios movies.
Yes.
Like, I remember the first time I saw Destroy All Monsters.
Yes, amazing movie.
Just blew my mind.
Yes.
And it's interesting to hear you say that, because is that part of what you want to do, to bring a whole this kind of genre of film to a whole new generation that perhaps now might not see those old films?
Well, they can look at them, but they look at them with sort of nostalgia or postmodern, you know, sort of irony, and they look more like artifacts or things from the past. And I think that this movie tries to present everything new. The spectacle is spectacular, it's big, it's not ironic. It's not a movie that is ironic at all. It's extremely, extremely romantic about monsters and giant robots. It's very, very beautiful, crazy colors and so forth.
I think because I'm sure when we were younger, when we first saw those old, like the Godzilla movies, and
they look fresh.
I never looked at those and thought, that looks silly, but just because of how technology is advanced, you need to be making a movie like this.
Yeah, you need to reformulate it. And the great thing about these movies is that they are sort of guilt-free. Japan has a guilt-free association with technology. They don't look at technology as ambivalent or possibly bad. They adore it. And they embrace these mechas, these robots, as almost mythical warriors, and they don't have the ambivalence towards the monster that the Western culture has. Whether the monster is destroying a whole city or not, they find him adorable. It's a great sort of force of nature, you know, and I wanted to bring these things to the West and a new generation.
It is pretty cool.